Hello, everybody. Raijanku here.
Hey guys.
Okay, so we have a deck profile. So you want to say anything before we start?
This is the deck that I used at the KMC in New Holland, Pennsylvania. I got second place with it, and I'm very comfortable with the deck. It's an amazing deck if you use it and pilot it correctly. It involves more strategy than it does luck, which is a big thing for me because that's kind of who I am. I like to strategize. So I guess we'll just get right to the deck.
Yeah.
And then I'll talk about maybe some changes I would have made. Okay, well, starting out, I have the two Grudge Weavers here, 3 Skeeter Swarmers, 3 Stingwings for my early blocker lineup. My main concern, I mean, you don't have to really focus on just
Okay,
this.
okay.
I mean, it's, as long as I can see this, I can talk about it.
Okay.
But, I mean, this was mainly to combat rush. Also to deal with things like Keeper of Laws, because this here is just like, okay, Keeper of Laws can't do anything. At the very least, this will trade it off. And it also deals with, you know, Scamp, so on and so forth, especially Grudge Weaver. Grudge Weaver is just like, hey, go ahead and attack me, I'll discard a card and get rid of your guy. If they ever play a Blaze Belcher, it's a 2-for-1. It's really good. And this also combos really well with Ripper Reaper, obviously. But the main thing is get these blockers out early if they're playing aggressive. If they're not, throw them in mana. I mean, it's pretty much what it comes down to. And, I mean, this guy's good because he can skirmish too. But, I mean, moving on to, like, the other 2-drop, Scavenging Chimera. He was good. Honestly, it wasn't as needed as, you know, I probably thought he was. But he still was able to give me just the ability to bring back things later on. And there were times where I had 2 of them out, and it's just like, it doesn't matter what you kill, I'm just going to keep bringing stuff back. Yep. So, moving on with the Scared Over Gloom Hollow. I mean, it deals with Rush. Again, these are my blockers. It's like, if you're running Rush, you're not going to win. I mean, honestly, that's what it comes down to. But also, I do run Hydra Medusa, so the Chimeras help out with that. As for Mesmerize, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, it allows you to set up your strategy. Also, it allows you to get rid of, you know, key cards your opponent's using. And it sort of goes hand in hand with Spire Puppet. It's like a good follow-up. But staying on track here, I ran 2 Toxic Fogs. Honestly, this card did like nothing for me the entire day. There wasn't a whole lot of Rush, and even when I played Rush, this wasn't necessary because I had all this.
Yeah.
So this would definitely change. I'd probably like switch this out for like another Devouring Smog and or Ghost Bites or something, just because they have bigger range than this does.
Okay. Boneblade's pretty staple, right? You don't
Yeah.
really have to explain that one.
Well, yeah, I'm not getting to that, but yeah.
Okay, so
I mean,
next
it's killed things.
Yeah.
Screech Scared Orbital. This was mainly meant to, again, combat Rush, and also to get rid of Scamps, or blockers too. There was a time in the tournament where I actually played him to make it so a blocker couldn't block, and then I attacked in with, like, triple breakers. So yeah, that was good. In my matchup against Rush, I played this, like, back-to-back, and I killed off 2 of his guys, and, you know, I maintained my board presence. So, it's just, when you have cards that gain abilities when they enter the battle zone, and then you can use them later with other cards to make them gain more value, it's really good. Kind of like the same deal with Spire Puppet. Random discard, your opponent doesn't get to choose. So, yeah.
Okay, and curious about the 2 side-by-side beside Screeching. Thoughts on those?
Side by side.
Ripper Reaper and Skack.
No, I'm getting there.
Okay.
I mean, the Ripper Reaper itself is just an amazing card in this deck. It's definitely one of the most valuable pieces, because there is so much recursion in this deck. Ripper can just benefit off the other effects of cards. Like I said, Spire Puppet, play it, I discarded a card. Well, if I abuse this by getting rid of it and get rid of one of your cards, it just gave me another plus.
Mm.
And I mean, it's a 4,000 body, so it can get over Keeper, which is really good. And sort of going off, I guess, with Skack, since you mentioned it, Skack's a Chimera, so it functions well with Hydra Medusa.
How good was it for you?
It was decent. Mainly, it was mana fodder because there's only 5 dual civ nature.
For Necros.
And the reason behind that is the idea is I don't want to draw them early. So ideally, since I start out with the 5 shields and I start out with 5 cards in hand, odds are I probably have 1 in my hand. If not, it's coming up in the next couple turns. That will most likely go to mana, and then 5 turns later, when I actually need it, I'll draw another one. And statistically speaking, that's just how the deck should work. So I shouldn't be seeing this until my turn 5 or 6, ideally. And yeah, I mean, that's why I ran more of the light civs, just because those are more important.
Which we're going to get to here in just a quick moment, right?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so we're going to push the camera over this way.
Still want to talk about Hydra Medusa,
though. Okay. There we I'm sorry.
But Hydra Medusa was a really good choice, I think, personally. Because I have 3, 6, 7, 8 basic targets to go off of. But then I also can go on top of Skack, which is beneficial. And I actually did that in a game. I got rid of the guy's hand, and then I played Medusa on top, and then killed his guy, swung in, and I mean, it's amazing. This is great against dragons, because if they have a Herald, it can just kill it, and then it can kill something else when it comes out too. So yeah, it's just amazing card. Honestly, I never fast attacked with it. I was just like, play it to get rid of a resource.
Aside from one time whenever you attacked Herald.
Well, yeah, no, they played Herald and then followed it up with a Lyra. I had no board. They swung in with Herald, so then I'm like, okay, I had 7 mana at that point. That's when my turn started, so I played a Scavenging Chimera, and then evolved it into Hydra Medusa, killed off the Lyra, swung in, killed the Herald. And then, hey, next turn I could just play with Necros, and I could do shenanigans.
What do you think you'd bump it up to 3 ever?
Potentially. If I did, I might consider, like, maybe manipulating my blockers a little bit. Like, I mean, I like the Stingwing, I like the Skeeter Swarmer, Grudge Weaver's good too. I mean, I would probably up the Gloom Hollow if I ever went to 3. But, I mean, the 2 was more balanced. I didn't want to top deck into 1.
Right.
So it's like, if I drew one of these, it was usually live when I had it, or, I mean, hey, it can always go to mana. But I figured 2 is enough, because with the Necroses, I can always bring it back from my discard.
Right.
And then I can put the Evo bait on board too, which is always nice, because you'd be like, oh, Necros, and I'll bring out Screeching. Okay, I'll banish your dude, and then, yeah. Like, I set up a play one time. It was like, played Necros, took back Medusa, played Ripper Reaper, and sacked off the guy, and then next turn I played a creature and Medusa, and I don't know. There's just so many combos to make this deck work.
Okay, so...
But yeah, Skack was decent. The ramp occasionally helped, but I didn't rely on it. The discard was nice because, I could hold this in my hand and then play it, get rid of the card.
And something for you guys out there to maybe consider. Skack can turn into Mark Kalima.
Yeah, potentially so, because you play it, you go up to 7, then next turn you go up to 8. Yeah, I mean, being able to get to 8 mana is really important.
Yeah.
As opposed to 10. But Devouring Smog was a really good card. I'm probably going to bump this up to 3. Just because you can hard cast it. And in my deck, they're not having a lot of board presence, and if they are, it's not going to last long. And Devouring Smog, just it can put in work. It can take down Haven. It can take down potentially Keepers, but hey, they'll still get a draw, whatever. Usually you don't use this against Keeper unless it's necessary, but this is key to getting rid of Haven, or one of their other guys if they haven't attacked with it yet. One game, I had one person come in and attack, break 2 shields, and they were a Terror Pit and a Devouring Smog. And I was like, okay, well, Terror Pit, you're one big dude, and then, hey, guess what? All you have left is Haven.
Yeah.
Terror Pit's pretty standard. You know what? Honestly, it's like... This actually, believe it or not, ends up going to mana a lot. And it's kind of funny because it's outside of it being a shield blast, it's outclassed by Mark or Kalima.
Yeah.
But say more on task here. We have Serpens, also another MVP of the deck.
Yeah, this card, when I watched the games, man, it was so good.
Honestly, it's like if I have a bunch of creatures on board and I play Serpens, all my blockers potentially become, hey, I can block you and I can gain a shield. In the worst case scenario, and I've done this, I've taken some of my creatures that were basically dead on board, there was no reason for me to have them, and I rammed them into my opponent's creatures. And that was just to gain shields. Because there were times, I played Zach Hine, and I had so many shields, and he went through so many. Like, he kept attacking, and then I was just like, I kept getting back shields. And by the end of the game, I had, 2 to 3 blockers out, Serpens and other stuff, but, if he attacked me, I got a shield. Or if he killed my guys to get through for an attack, I got a shield. So, I mean, this guy is really good, especially since it can just revenge kill whatever just went in. I mean, it's 6,500, so it can take care of Lyra, it can take care of Herald, and most other plays. And then if it can't deal with something, we move on to turn 8. Fortress, it was kind of okay. It's kind of like the same kind of mechanic as Serpens in terms of, a creature dies, something happens. Honestly, I played this maybe once. It wasn't that great. I mean, I think maybe one of is okay, but I definitely would have switched between, taking one of these out and throwing in another Mark. Because Mark was, huge MVP. And yeah, but there's so many times where Mark was just like, okay, I play this, you get rid of your board, because you had 2 guys. Or if I had Queen in my hand, which, honestly, believe it or not, it happened more often than not, I brought out Kalima through Mark, probably at least, I would realistically say, at least 4 to 5 times throughout the day. And it was devastating for them, because a turn 8, getting rid of their board, and then just being able to get back the stuff that Kalima milled, it's just insane. It really is. So this is a very viable card, definitely increasing this to 3. And then my tech here, Dracothane, super amazing card. I mean, really, it brings back probably like 40, to almost 50% of the deck, and it's like you can bring back Screeching Scare Adorable, you can to banish something, you can bring back Spire Puppet to discard, you can bring back your Scavenging Chimeras to bring back your other things, or you can bring back your chump blockers to block more or sack them off with Ripper Reaper. It basically, it's just so good. I played against people that discarded stuff from my hand, and it didn't hurt me because I could bring it back later with him, or I could. He got discarded from my hand. I brought it back with Scavenging Chimera
Or Necros.
or Necros. I mean, there's basically, if you try the discard strategy, which by the way isn't a bad strategy, it doesn't matter. I can just get stuff back, and then on top of that, you got him and Kalima out. He goes up to 16 anyways, so he's pretty beefy. Triple breaker, and again, it gives me resources, and if he dies, I'll probably get him back. Anywho, so then also, you know, Kalima over here, we have, it's like the powerhouse, it's the main, like, heart and soul of the deck. It's like the deck, it's the deck's basically win condition. I mean, don't get me wrong, Serpens is decent, and all these other cards are decent as a whole, but Kalima is the MVP. And honestly, like I said, this deck is more focused on the interactions it has. That's why there's not like a whole lot of boss monsters in this. It's like Kalima and Dracothane, and then you've got the support of Serpens. Everything else is just it just works so well together. And again, I mean, I only had 10 Shield Blasts. I mean, and then, you know, a couple other spells, but like I didn't rely on my Shield Blasts, but I mean, occasionally I hit one or two, and I mean, that happens. But honestly, it's like I enjoy playing the deck, and I expect to see some more like this out there, and I look forward to playing more, and to seeing what you guys come up with, because I'm sure you guys will come up with some new innovative strategies and so on and so forth. I'm not saying by any means that this deck is perfect. It definitely needs some work, but it was able to get me second place at the KMC, and yeah, I'm really proud of it, and yeah.
So any final words, buddy?
I mean, honestly, like I said, I mean, it's a fun deck. You know, I mean, you really got to think to play it. I mean, you don't just like spam the field and stuff, but there's times where you can spam the blockers and you can just, like I said, drop the Serpens or, you know, whatever. I loved being able to play Ripper Reaper, sacking something, and then making myself an extra shield. You know, like Necroses. At one point I had 12 mana. I played a Necros. I took back a Ripper Reaper, and then I played a Ripper Reaper, sacked that, and then I had like another Necros. So then I played that Necros, took back like the other Necros, and I had another Ripper Reaper in hand, played that, and it's just, there's just so many crazy combos in this deck, and I love it. So I don't know what's in store for the future after Invasion Earth, but I think that this deck will be around a while. So, you know, we'll see. I don't know, there might be some corrupted Kalima shenanigans coming up, but we'll see. But, I mean, that's pretty much it for the deck, and for my profile on this. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And I guess until next time, guys, remember to keep calm and game on. Later, guys.